Today I want to show all of you that creativity and nature can truly rock. So what we're going to do is just start with something a little bit fun.
Can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. Yeah, that's how we living, and you know you can't touch this. Look in my eyes, man. You can't touch.
Okay, I got your attention. So it is not when you start being interested in the natural world, it is when you stop. These are the words that Sir David Attenborough said to a journalist when he was asked about when he first became interested in nature. It's not when you start, it's when you stop. Young children have an intrinsic fascination with the world around them. They meet it head-on with gleeful excitement as if discovering new worlds with supernatural inhabitants. And yet we found as they grow up and the world begins to crowd in, somehow nature gets crowded out. I was 12 years old when I first saw David Attenborough speak at a conference. And to hear his enthusiasm and passion for the world around him didn't only inspire me, it led me to spend the last 5 years trying to work out, so if nature gets crowded out, how do I bring it back in? How do I connect with people in a way that's meaningful and relevant? How do I continue a legacy that Sir David Attenborough started 60 years ago in a world that's fundamentally changed in that time? Before I show you some of the things that we did, I actually want to first plant a theme that I think is really important to how we went about it. And that theme is really simple, it's perspective. All of you here are going to be inspired by different influences, but one of the first for me was a book. And it was The Little Prince by Saint-Antoine. And at the very beginning of the book, there are two pictures that many of you are going to be familiar with. And the first is this. And the commentary goes something like this. After several hours with a colored pencil, I finally completed what was to be my first picture. And I showed this to the grown-ups and said, "Are you frightened by my drawing?" I said, "Frightened? Why would anybody be frightened by a hat?" But it wasn't a hat. It was a boa constrictor that had eaten an elephant. So at the age of 6 years old, I gave up what could have been a masterful career as a painter because grown-ups need everything explaining to them. And it becomes tiresome for children to keep doing that. So not only does nature get crowded out, but also the limitation with which we see the world, the possibilities within it, and also our role. And yet innovation often comes from that unique and divergent perspective. To be the grown-up and still see the snake that ate the elephant, or at least keep looking for it. So when we started to look at the future and think about where we could go, we ceased to define ourselves by the 60 years of heritage we had of being world leaders in making TV and said, what could we be? And so that's where we started. Now, it was almost like saying, if David Attenborough was starting today, what would he have done? The challenge was the same, but greater. We know the issues around conservation, about world urbanization. We know that children are now playing in, the roaming space that children play in has been decreased by 90% in the last 30 years. We also know statistically that there is more of a profound impact that nature has on our lives than ever has been recorded before. So on the one hand, the connection to nature has never been so important. On the other hand, it's never been so hard to reach. But as storytellers, the tools and media we have to inspire wonder in audiences around the world has never been so exciting. And that's where we started. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the stuff we did, and I'm going to start with which for us was by far the hardest audience possible, which is teens. My daughter hasn't quite reached that stage yet, but one of the strategies that most of us have had, I think, in media with teenagers be wait for them to grow up. When they get to around about 30, they suddenly become interested again. But we did what any great explorer would do, and we dived in, we lived amongst them, We tried and gradually began to learn their ways, and a whole new dialect was formed. We went from 60-minute films to 3-minute films, from classical music to hip-hop homilies, and here's one of the things we tried.
What's he saying?
On the phone.
Okay. So we then looked around and saw the stuff that they were really enjoying and was rating really highly, and we said, you think that's cool? We'll check some of this stuff out. It's basic science.
Let's have a look at that.
Okay, and then we looked around and said, we still aren't very funny. And you can try and be funny, and then we decided, let's partner with some other people who are funnier than we are. And there was a guy called Z Frank we partnered with who brought a real star quality to a cast of characters. Let's show you the next clip.
These are true facts about the star-nosed mole. Holy crap, did you see? The star-nosed mole is a mole that looks a bit like a plush toy that was squeezed too hard, and whose insides are starting to come out one end. It makes its home tunneling in soft, moist, marshy soil. Oh, God, stop doing that. The star-nosed mole is a carnivore, but it is functionally blind, and instead of sight, it relies on a remarkable adaptation. Its tail. Just kidding. It's the nose. Even though the...
Okay. Now, the other way that you'd connect people with the natural world would be to take them there, to immerse them in the center of the action in the heart of the wild. But travel is prohibitive for most. Many of these worlds are certainly inaccessible. Some of them no longer exist. And many times you find that you'll be sitting for 6 months waiting in a hut for one thing to happen. So for me, this is where technology really comes into its own. So one of the things that we started to look at was, what about dinosaurs? How do I connect kids with a world that truly has disappeared? So we sat with some amazing creatives in Australia, some great technology guys, and we said, let's build some dinosaurs. And why don't we not just build these dinosaurs? Why don't we take them on a world tour and go to every major city? In the first year that they toured, they were the highest grossing concert of the year, and they beat Beyonce and Coldplay. So if there was a moment where you realize factual can be really cool, it was this. So let's play you a clip. Then 3 years ago, I just had my second child, and we're thinking, how do I go bigger again? So we've done a world tour of dinosaurs. We're now on our second world tour. How do I create this world and bring it to life? So we started to work with paleontologists. How do these dinosaurs, how are they built? We started to work with animators, started to bring them to life. And there's something brilliant about the ignorance of a Brit going to Hollywood, because we decided we were going to make a major Hollywood film. So we turned up 3 years ago, and in 4 days, just with an idea and a lot of big imagination, we sold out and raised $85 million. I'm not going to show you the clip that you're going to see. It launches at the end of this year. I'm going to show you the original test that we took to prove the concept. What we were trying to do was create a world that really took you back in time. So this is what we showed at the American film market. Then we tried something else with another partner, something quite different from everything else you've seen. So we worked with a company, Sega, who most of you all know, so interesting to put a British culture and a Japanese culture together. And we said, so how do we connect with a generation that's used to seeing the world through their fingertips and through screens? And so can I imagine a world that would be like jumping into an iPad, but you use all the 5 senses around you? So what would it feel like to really have a stampede of wildebeest around you, to feel the ice crack beneath your feet as you're walking through the Arctic? And 2 months ago, we just launched this in Japan. It's 4,000 square meters of pure imagination, for me, at its best. I'm almost out of time. The last project I want to show you is something very much in production. And it's not about taking you there, it's trying to change the way we see. And almost taking you on a journey to discover the real magic in nature. And for that, we went back to the most creative amongst all of us, which are children. I don't know whether you've seen a child go on a walk through the countryside, but they're not really walking at all. They're flying, they're soaring through the air, they're down on their hands and knees in the dirt. They don't turn over a stone and see ants, they see a merciless army of soldiers. So if planet Earth gave you a godlike perspective, Enchanted Kingdom is trying to reconnect you with the snake that ate the elephant and change the way that we see again. We filmed it in 4K and 3D. It's the most ambitious project we've ever done. And you're really getting a sneak peek today, so I hope you enjoy it. my time is well and truly over. I think the only thing I'd leave everybody here with is, I really believe that everything you do, we do, makes a difference. And I think the big thing for me is about deciding what difference it is you want to make with your life. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Amanda, gracias. Amanda, como ustedes saben, es la directora de estrategia de marca de BBC. Simplemente su programa Earth fue revolucionario y recaudó, fue el tercer programa que más recaudó dinero en su año. Es la estratega de Dr. Gear y sobre todo se ha preocupado de cómo realmente involucrar al ser humano a los temas del medio ambiente. Just one question. First, congratulations. Really, thank you for being with us. When you start a meeting and you decide to choose any new project, and of course you always have the mission that to engage with the people. Mm-hmm. What's the first thing? What's the lesson? What's the first question that comes to the meeting? Like, from here we have to work on.
No imagination. There are no bounds to where your imagination can go.
So it's a big brainstorm.
It's not even that. I think it's more the sense that so often we focus on what's possible and not what's not. And I think you often try and start nowadays with what's the most impossible thing we can think of, and then let's work out how we're going to do it.
Well, thank you very much. Un aplauso, por favor.